Albert Einstein wrote, and we're just going to remember that he wrote with pronouns of his time. So, anyway, Albert Einstein wrote with pronouns of his time. A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. So this week in our quest to practice inclusivity, we're starting with the person in the mirror, which is ourselves, myself. That's who I see in the mirror, is me. And I call it what Einstein calls he calls the delusion of consciousness. I call the delusion of separation. This comes in many forms. The delusion that we are separate, or the belief that we're separate from other people, the belief that we're separate from the earth, the belief that we're separate from the stars. Another famous scientist said that we're made of stardust, and he's not wrong. And the belief in separateness, or this idea of separateness, is something that we start learning as soon as we're born. And something society teaches us, oh, we're different than those, we're different from them, they're different from us, we have to hold on to our own, you're not as good as your sister, whatever it is, there's always this separateness thing that's part of our culture. It hasn't always had to be that way. Some people grow up in a culture of connection and we're all interconnected to each other, of tribe and community. But that's not the Western culture that we live in. So, yay! We believe in separateness. So, we think that we grew up maybe in a world where we had to strive to do well in school to be good enough, or we had to show up right in our work to get the kudos, or get the promotion, or get the parking spot, or get the car, or whatever. And in the book, Sharif says this funny thing. He said, a watch is a device that tells time. Spending $50,000 for a watch does not give you more time or a higher quality of time. I didn't even know you could get a $50,000 watch, but apparently you can. That's not to say that things of value are a bad thing. I mean, if you get a more expensive watch and it lasts you a lot longer than the cheaper watch, then that's probably actually does save you time, because you don't have to go buy another one. But the problem is, so often is we make the watch or the car or the whatever it is, the relationship, the friend, the sense of worth or the sense of self, instead of, well, I bought the watch because it's helpful and it tells time really well and it does what I need it to do. I was thinking about how I just recently bought a new computer this summer. Not because I needed a new computer or to have a certain status symbol, but because my old computer is deciding it doesn't want to function as a laptop anymore. Like it wants to be connected to the wall now. And and it was starting to not do the things I needed it to do. So the new one does the things I needed to do. So that's awesome, except for talking to this projector, but that's another story. Because we're not the stuff. And I know you all know that, because I know all you all, but that's the societal world that we're living in, is that belief that we're the stuff, or we're the attainment, or the relationship, or the friends. And when we can become truly awake to this, that we are believing in, when we really understand that we're believing in this illusion or delusion of separation and separateness, then we see the world as a totally different place. And this, of course, is a journey. It's a continual waking up journey. It's not like, oh, I woke up and there we go, we're good. It's a continual wake up journey. I think that's why some people get frustrated with church and the spiritual path and things like that, because it's not like you just get the punch in your passport and you've done it. I mean, you just got to keep showing up, right? So, in the book, Sharif talks about 4 different ways that we are either inclusive or exclusive that relate to ourselves. And that is the body, mind, emotions, and the spiritual. And so I've known some people, very smart people, who kind of think of the body as a brain transportation device. And the body really doesn't have any purpose other than to get my brain, which is what I am and who I am, where it needs to go. And I think that in the long term, that's not very helpful, because your brain will go places more longer if you take care of the body that's taking it there. And so there's this disconnect between the choices and the ideas and the body. So it's very interesting. And then, of course, I know there's a spectrum of choices, from like not really thinking about the body at all to fully being integrated, and I think we all play in the middle ground somewhere there sometimes. Because when your favorite dessert is sitting in front of you, you might be not necessarily, we all have moments. So Sharif writes, this is hardcore. You ready? Body inclusivity means having a positive self-image regarding our bodies. And that's kind of like the favorite common thing to be like, to say, talk nasty about our bodies. It seems like, oh, my fill in the blank body part is acting up again. Have you ever said that or thought that? Heard someone say that? Think that? So that's not to say that if you are speaking with your doctor or talking to someone, you can't say, at the moment, I'm experiencing pain in my fill in the blank. Instead of making that your whole existence. Subtle, but it's a difference. So language is important, because instead of making your that body part that's behaving in a way you wish it wouldn't be the other, the enemy, it's just part of the whole that's not exactly how you want it to be. It's different. And so there's 2 things about the body. I think Myrtle Fillmore, in her story of healing, continues to come back around as such a great touchstone for body integration. And there's 2 parts about Myrtle Fillmore's healing story that's important to remember, I think, in relation to this. Is first off, you all have heard and know that, she heard that great affirmation, I'm a child of God and I do not inherit sickness. And she had an instant spiritual awakening and understanding, a wake up. She had a wake up moment in that moment. She had an integrated moment in that moment. But that did not mean her body was instantly, bam, physically healed. She had to continue to wake up to that truth for 2 years before her body was free from the tuberculosis that the doctor said was going to take her out. So she had to continue to wake up to that truth. If she'd forgotten a week later and went, oh, that was nice what they said at church last week, whatever, went on about her day, we wouldn't be having this story. I don't know what we would be, but unity wouldn't exist if she decided to not wake up and stay awake. And the other important part of Myrtle Fillmore's story to remember is that she started with gratitude. And so if fill in the blank body part is not your favorite right now because it's behaving in a way that you do not appreciate or is not comfortable, it's okay. You can find a body part to be grateful for. Even if it's your pinky finger, your big toe, the tip of your nose, your ears, whatever it is, pick a body part to be grateful for and its function. Lungs, we like lungs, they work well. Whatever it is, pick a body part. And in your prayer time, I feel grateful for my fingers, for holding pencils and being able to be nimble and do the things I need them to do. And feel that gratitude not as something different than you, but as part of you. And this is what Myrtle Fillmore did. She went through every part of her body. She says she spoke to every cell in her body as part of her healing process. She really integrated into her body. So that's what we can do. Even, like I said, if there's parts that aren't doing exactly what you want them to do, find some gratitude for the things that they have done, but work on that. It's a great little practice. And back to having positive self-image, if you really can start to see all those parts of your body that are really doing the things you want them to do, then you're having a more positive self-image, right? So it's a great thing. And that doesn't mean that you don't say, well, I could make a better choice, and then you make a better choice. That's a great thing to do too. So next is mental exclusivity and inclusivity. This is if everybody jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? Section. And when we're awake or asleep mentally, well, then you don't usually show up in a Unity church, so there's that. But that's not entirely true, because free thinking can be another way. Being a free thinker can be just another trap to fall into of following the crowd. It's a cooler one, supposedly, but it's just another crowd to follow. Can be. This exclusivity or separation, exclusivity. If you say it fast, you miss an extra syllable in there. Anyway, or separation can take the form of thinking or believing that our minds are separate from ourselves. Like that internal critic who might have, maybe not y'all, but some people have an internal critic who's always gnashing away at every single thought and every single choice and every single thing. And that's to say, self-reflection is good. Self-reflection is helpful if it takes the form of, that choice that I made wasn't the best choice, or I didn't like the way it turned out. I want to do it better. I'm going to do it better next time. That's helpful awareness, connection. Not helpful is when people get so caught up in the reflection that they can't even function because of the inner critic. And when we're asleep, our consciousness and our subconscious is awash with junk information about the world and how the world works and who we are. You know, I've railed about the media and advertising companies and all of that, but this when we're asleep mentally, that's when they win. Because they can tell you what to think and what to believe and what you need, and it's just sort of mind-boggling when you stop and think about it. You know, yeah, I said the thing about the free thinkers. Yeah. To be a true free thinker, you have to actually think and be integrated into that whole process and understand and stop and think about what you're thinking. And so, there we go. I knew there was something else I wanted to say. So, how do we do this? This is so great. I love this. I love when the book you're reading is like exactly what you were going to say. Bam. Because, of course, Sharif says that meditation is the best tool for cleaning house mentally and getting that integration happening. And instead of feeling separate, meditation, I love when that happens. And he calls it, this is so great, this is what he calls meditation: personal consciousness management. Isn't that fun? It's a great little personal consciousness management. And so I was thinking, I'm like, if you clean your sidewalks, you probably wash your dishes and do all the things that need to be done, take personal hygiene, take care of all of those things. You do all of these things to take care of what needs to be done and keep things clean and all as they should be. Meditation, consciousness management, consciousness cleaning. I said in one of our other classes we've done, it's like taking a little scrub brush to your brain, kind of cleaning out the crevices. So many profit when we stay asleep and we don't take these steps, but the world profits in consciousness when we stay awake. That's the important part. Staying awake is an act of rebellion. So when we come to emotional inclusivity, it reminds me a lot of what we talked about a lot last fall, which was the work of Brené Brown and the research, lots of research about vulnerability. And all of that research shows that to be really vulnerable and alive and awake, not her words, but awake, which is what we're talking about, is to have all the emotions. Because when we're asleep, it may feel comfortable, but it's not, right? But when we turn the switch and we're allowed to have real joy, yes, we have real sorrow too, but it's so much better. It's so much better to have the wide range of emotions, because it comes back to the deep knowing of the truth of who we are, which is an expression of the one energy of oneness that is the whole universe. And when we really know that and we're not separate from that, then all the emotions, while the joy is fun and the sadness is not so much fun, we know that those are all temporary. And it just makes it so much easier in the long run. And finally, we come to the spiritual exclusivity and inclusivity. This is kind of an interesting part because it's not about religion, though it can be. We do have spiritual experiences in the context of religion or church, but it's not always like that. He talked about 3 different ways that this shows up. So in community, we can have a spiritual inclusive experience in community. Like when I lived in a town when the baseball team won the World Series. Not everybody, but most people were like really involved in this. And there was this experience of joy and collective consciousness around this experience. That's an interesting context. We put that into a sports context, but we also have that community feeling of spiritual inclusivity, maybe during a group meditation. Or maybe we have it at, if you've ever heard Handel's Messiah done, and there's that few seconds of pause right before the very last couple measures. There's a group breath that happens there. That inclusivity that goes beyond us, but when we feel connected to the people and the beings around us, that's pretty awesome stuff. That's we can do more of that, have more of those experiences. And then there's the spiritual inclusivity with the earth. And that would include things like, did you see the sunrise and the wispy clouds yesterday morning? And I had an awe moment, a stop in the parking lot and go, where I felt beyond me, I was connected with the clouds and the mountains and trees. Or maybe you've had that experience with the animals in your world, or the moose in your yard, or whatever it is. We've had those experiences of connection with the earth and all the beings that are on it, and maybe even the whole universe. When we see beyond our kind of human one point of view humanness. It's really kind of cheating to live around as many amazing natural sights as we do, because it's like not hard to feel that connection with the earth and the magnificence of it, and to understand that we're just a part of this huge amazing thing, and these mountains are so much bigger than we are, right? Not just like in size. So yeah, we're kind of cheated by it because we have, it's easy for us. And I wouldn't want it any other way. But then beyond these experiences of spiritual inclusivity with other people and with the earth is a transcendence that goes even beyond this. It goes beyond any thoughts and brings together all of us through, crosses the barriers of misbeliefs or anything of separateness. And this is one of those things that you can't explain. And you may have glimpsed a nugget of it here and there, and even some of those experiences that I've explained, but even more than that. And when we have that experience of connection with ourselves, with each other, we move beyond the barriers that we think or we've been deluded to believe that exist. I mean, we're still going to believe at some level that we're separate because, you know, my hand is not the lectern. However, at a microscopic, cosmic, that's not the word I'm looking for, quantum level, it's not. Right? I mean, I'm just saying what the scientists say. So we are going to continue to have some of those beliefs that our body is, you know, kind of held in by this stuff called skin and all of those things. We can move a lot further down the road. So this week and beyond, because the spiritual practice is not just about what we do on Sunday for a couple hours, because that would make it separate than the rest of our lives, and we're not about separateness, we're about inclusivity, right? So we can integrate it into our whole lives. I invite you into this practice of awareness, waking up more, to notice and redirect. Oh, that's not in alignment with what I really believe. Let's nudge that thought or that behavior over a little over a little bit. Do not leave any part of you out on the doorstep. It's cold out there. Don't leave your body or your mind, your spirit, your emotions out on the doorstep. Let them come on in. And become the inclusive whole that is you or y'all.